Come in the room. Thank you so much for coming on so late today. I know it's late. It's 7:15 Central for me, especially with the time going back. I too am starting to feel it, but I think it's going to turn out good in terms of going to bed on time. So today's agenda, I'm going to finish talking about the gender-affirming resources that I shared last week and how to build an inclusive care environment. We'll talk about some dermatology D&P project ideas. I'll kind of wrap up where I finished with that last week too. And the main thing we'll be doing is going behind the scenes on the Mahogany Telederm Nurse Internship. I'm going to tell you about the motivation to start it and primarily the resources I'm using to make it public and how I'm preparing for the next 12 months. And then, I'm announcing my new city. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dr. Kimberly Madison. I'm a doctoral prepared nurse practitioner, and this is my YouTube channel where I come on every weekend live for this Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur Diary series. Next month, it'll be one whole year that I've been coming on every week. We're still trying to iron out the time because, like I said, I'm in a new time zone, so we're still trying to figure that out. But I just present my life as a case study. Hello, Mother. Just to share, because so much of being a provider, being an entrepreneur is not taught in nursing school. Nursing school can only teach us so much, right? And so I'm just here to present myself as a case study. And, the goal, my dream is that in the future, business, entrepreneurship, finance, innovation, that those will be, if not prerequisites for nursing, part of the standard curriculum. Now, when I think about the standard curriculum right now, I don't know that there's a lot of wiggle room for that. So I think it would probably be best suited for those prerequisites and then to continue to see them showing up in the coursework, maybe not necessarily dedicated courses, but mixed in with the other things that you are required to learn. And I'm excited because I've been reading some resources lately by the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, AACN, and Credentialing Center. Anyway, I've been reading a bunch of resources over the weekend, like the Future of Nursing 2020 to 2030, and then the American, I want to get this right. The American, hold on. Anyway, they mentioned that these same recommendations for improving nursing, American Association of Colleges of Nursing, they've put out a few documents talking about the current state of education and where we need to go. And they are mentioning that we need to see more when it comes to nurses need to be taught more about social media training, finance, and business. And so I'm really excited to see that documented. It gives me a lot of hope that that's the direction we're going to go. So every week I catch you up on what it's like to be what my experience is like being a nurse practitioner, as well as a budding entrepreneur. And we typically will go through like the health part, right? Because as long as you're taking care of other people, then you also need to be taking care of yourself. And so we always start with spirituality. And because I've been covering so many other topics, I haven't really been getting into my other health, but we'll start with this devotional and then we'll do a little quick update on health and then we'll jump into our topics. And I'm trying to decide when I want to tell you my new city, maybe towards the end and make you watch the whole thing. Okay, so this devotional comes from the Holy Bible app. You can go in there, you can go under plans, and you can put in like keywords that you identify with, and they'll provide you a list of devotional selections. So this one's anxiety. All year I've talked about anxiety, not only for myself, but I just think it's really prevalent in our practice. And when I hear from you all and I see all that you have on your plate, I know you're living with it too. So when we came across this one, I just thought it's so fitting. So we'll read the devotional. There's a little bit of scripture, and then we'll continue with our agenda. So this is called The Power of Prayer. Once anxiety takes hold, it slowly tightens its grip, clawing to a point of mental and physical exhaustion. Despair sets in and somehow intensifies as we dwell. Perhaps anxiety is not merely the lack of air we feel in that moment of desperation, but the lack of hope. What's difficult is moving from a place of habitual anxiety to a place of habitual invitation towards the Prince of Peace, to enter in, especially in the raw of our most exposing meltdowns. When we recognize the need to run to God in these vulnerable moments and then do so, we're building a muscle of dependence on Him. No matter how weak of a yes it is to lean into Him, it's still a yes. Your small prayer is a welcome mat. Once the welcome mat is laid, watch what He does. Though the prayer may not be elaborate in dialogue or ornate with long and regal verbiage, it still moves His heart. It shows Him that you desire conversation with your Father. While God already knows every little detail of your life, the conversation is important because it comes from a place of surrender. The focus naturally shifts from worry back to God as you come in weakness to seek His strength. Everything else just becomes less far important compared to the assurance that God gives us. This is exactly what the disciples experienced in the midst of the storm. As long as their attention and focus were riveted by the storm around them, they failed to recognize the power and authority so near, a power that came from the man asleep on their boat. Jesus attributed their fear and worry to a lack of faith and to a lack of trust in His provision and plan. Sometimes our biggest breakthroughs may not come from a place of deliverance or a miracle, but rather in the midst of the storm itself. When Jesus stepped in, the disciples immediately recognized who He truly was. Even the wind and the waves obeyed Him. In like manner, the wind and waves of your life must obey. He's done it before, and He'll do it again, especially as you trust in the power of His name and the command of His voice. Surrendering to Him is an act of faith, a declaration that He is Lord over wind and waves, the calmer of your storms. In a moment of surrender, He simply says, "Be still and know that I am God." In a moment of reflection, take a moment to lay out a welcome mat and invite the Prince of Peace to give you His perspective on your storm. Ask Jesus for grace to walk in greater levels of trust with Him. That's actually a really good one I'm going to meditate on this week. And our scripture for tonight comes from Psalms 46, chapter 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. I'll be exalted among the nations, and I'll be exalted in the earth. Amen. So as far as my physical health goes, I'm still on track. I'm still working out through the week, running and lifting weights 3 days a week. I want to get to 4 days a week. That would be the next goal. And it's about an hour and a half. So I've been really consistent with that. I haven't missed any days since I moved. And sleep, I've been averaging 6 hours a night. And diet's really good. Still eating really clean. I even have my green juice right here. So this green juice is kale, a lot of celery, like 2 whole stalks of celery, ginger, some different apples, pears, and water. And it's really tasty. So that's really good. Once I get my work schedule more predictable, then I need to follow up with a mammogram. I still need to find an allergist, an orthodontist, a new women's health provider. And before you know it, it'll be time for me to go back to the dentist. And I lost my glasses through the move. I'm still hopeful that when I finish emptying all the boxes, I still might find it, or maybe it's under the seat in the car. But either way, I have my prescription. I'm going to be ordering some new glasses, a lot of them, because I found a really good price and a lot of really cute frames. So you look out for those. And my anxiety's been pretty calm. Like I said, I pretty much at a 2. I'm at a 0 right now because I'm not doing that much. So that's been really nice. But I've talked before about seasonal affective disorder, how that usually impacts me this time of year. So now that I'm in my new city, we'll see, because I still think I will get the same exposure of sunlight, but I won't have to deal with the cold. So we'll see if the season affects me like it has in the past. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that impacts me. And I do want to add a mental health provider too, to that roster. And so, I'll keep you posted on that. But that's really important. So, let's get into our agenda. So after last week, I updated the resources in the description box. I don't think I went over all of them that are down there. So when it comes to gender-affirming care, if you didn't see that video, the Journal of Drugs and Dermatology, one of my favorite journals, they had a webinar the week before on gender-affirming care, and it inspired me so much to dedicate last week's episode to that. I've previously written articles on the Mahogany Dermatology blog about resources, and so I've linked to those. One of the articles is titled Gender-Affirming Care. Actually, what is it called? Improving Sexual Health for LGBTQIA plus patients. That one's down there. How to build an inclusive care practice. When you click on that link and you go to that website, there's actually like an infographic that you can email me and I can email you the PDF for free, or you can just screenshot it and you can use it in your practice, and it teaches you all the little things you can do on your website as well as in your office and amongst your staff to build an inclusive care practice. And it is really important, if you want to make yourself known to the community, that you think about those little details, from what you can put on your website to let people know that you are a safe space, the kind of books that you can put in your waiting area, whatever you play on your screen, pins that people wear, the language that people use, your intake forms, all the little details like that you'll find there. And those are really important steps you can take, because the numbers show that, if I want to make sure I get this right. So when it comes to transgender people, there's more transgender people in the veteran population than the general population, and more transgender people than those people diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So it's a very important percentage of our population, yet we don't get the education that's required. And so people who do identify as, I don't remember if it was transgender specifically or LGBTQIA plus, but I know both of them have a high rate of suicide. It was like 60%. And just by providing gender-affirming care, we can decrease that risk of suicide by 70%. I think that's an important number all by itself. In my MPAS program, we had a wonderful lecture. Certainly not enough, but it brought to my attention how important it is to improve disparities in this population. They told a story, which I'll never forget. One person, they wouldn't drink liquids all day long at work because they didn't feel comfortable going to the bathroom that was in the building. So they would wait till they would go home to drink and then urinate. So they would be up all night peeing, and they ended up going into developing chronic kidney disease or kidney insufficiency, all because of that. Because when they would go on a lunch break, it would take the entire lunch break to walk to another building just to pee and then to come back. And I just never forgot that. So yeah, that's down there. If you have questions or you have tips on what you do in your practice, or if you're part of the community and things that you know that would be a really big help, please share. And then, so you can get CEs by going to the GLMA Health Professionals Advancing LGBTQ plus Equality website. That's down there. Fenway Health out in Boston, that link is there. They also offer resources. I think if they offer CEs, I think I've done a couple of their courses. I think they might have been, when I took them, they might have been expired, or they were just like one CE, but it was still really helpful information. And they have a whole bunch of resources. And I know they are willing to even do presentations for your office. And then you'll see the National LGBTQIA plus Health Education Center. Really rich resources. I've talked before about how the last 2 years I've interviewed Kenya Hutton. He is now I don't want to get his title messed up, but anyway, he oversees the DC Black Pride events that happen every May. And then this upcoming year, it will not only be DC Black Pride, but also World Pride. Billions of people will be in the city. It's a wonderful opportunity to continue to learn. They have workshops and events and a lot of history. And then they have a marketplace every year for vendors. So if you have a business or you have a practice and you want to promote that, or you have goods that you sell. And then there's also a health and wellness pavilion. So as a provider, you can also provide services. I should probably update that too and put his information down there. And then, so we talked about, so that wraps up the gender-affirming care resources. And I think, you know what I need to do? Because I thought JDD put out that you can still go watch that webinar from last week. So I will add that to my description box when we're done. So yeah, that was really good. They went over a lot of really helpful just like background information. And then in my article, I linked like a lot of vocabulary words. And then, you can you can give feedback to your EHR, your EMR about things that they can add. Because I know when I was still at the bedside and we used Epic, they had right under the patient's name, there was like a drop down. And when you clicked on that, you can see their gender identity. The only thing I didn't like about that is that it's a step that you have to take and you have to know that that's there. And then, so I don't know if they've updated it, and they have different licensings for all the different EMRs. So some other ones, I think you don't have to even click anything. You could just see it, which would be really great, because right before I did leave the bedside, I remember we got a patient in, and they were put in a room with someone who was of the inappropriate gender. And so we had to find another room for them and go, and apologize, and be really mindful of the language, go around and tell all the staff how to be really mindful when they go in the room and talk to them, because there's no barrier between the two patients. And so just trying to protect their information identity as much as possible in a non-private room, semi-private room, is really challenging, but we made the steps to do that. So the dermatology DNP project ideas I hinted last week. And by the time you see me next week, there will be a new edition in the Virtual Preceptor Shop called Dermatology DNP Project Ideas. Is going to be the newest ebook. I want to say I'm halfway through. I guess I can say I'm halfway through. Whenever I come with these ideas, I think, oh, I'm just going to put together this quick little reference sheet. But then it always turns out to be more than that. So this one, I'm really happy with this one, and just putting it together. Have come across a lot of resources like the one I just talked about by the American Association of Colleges of Nurses. And then it inspired me to start reading through The Future of Nursing, which I read through. I think the one I read through in NP school was the last 10 years. And I can't remember if I started reading through this one, but this one right here really puts a lot of emphasis on addressing racism in nursing. I mean, it's a huge document. It covers a lot more than racism, but they always have themes, the different ones. I know the other one was like crossing the chiasm, something like that. I know I referenced that one a lot when I was in NP school, but it's a really good reference. If you don't know, a little hack I always say for like any PDF document, I upload it on my phone, and the app, for the Adobe app, has in the upper right-hand corner, I don't know why I pulled this phone. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. But when you open up a document, in the upper right-hand corner are three little dots, a drop-down menu. And when you open that up, it will show, one of the options will be like read aloud, and then it will read it for you. So while I'm mostly like I'm driving or doing other things with my hands and my ears are free, I will go through tons of documents that way. And then, sometimes it's just like a first screen to say, okay, is it worth me sitting down and reading it? And sometimes, no, I just listen to it, and that's how I can get a lot of information in. Now, it's not intuitive. So it's going to read literally everything on the page. For some people, that might be annoying. I've gotten used to it. So like, if there's an author or a page number, it's literally going to read everything. But there is like a fast forward and rewind feature. So you can kind of skip through things, and sometimes it will even save your spot. So if you don't listen to it for a couple of days and you go back, usually you can just pick up where you left off. So, but like I think the most annoying part is when there's tables with a lot of numbers, it reads literally every one. But for me, it's just a small inconvenience considering what I get out of it, which is information and to stay up to date. So yeah, that's how I'm reading through the Future of Nursing report, and some of the a lot of other articles I read through that way too. So yeah, the dermatology DNP project ideas. So in that book, I'm going to have the different types of categories of DNP projects, and a bunch of different ideas for your project. My goal is to have at least 20, but I think I can beat that too. Last week I shared 10. And so those will be in the book, and then a whole bunch more. And then I went through some history on the degree itself for those of you who aren't even in school yet, still on the fence about it, breaking down some of the information that's been shared in the recent reports by the AACN on the current state of doctoral education. That was put out in 2022. Really great resource about the mandates of the DNP degree. It's the trends since it's been out in terms of gender, race, and then the different types of degrees, the different experience people come in with. It's a really great document. And so that will be referenced in the book. So I'm really excited about that. And again, I just have you all to thank, specifically Zach, Aaron, and Sabina, who sat and chatted with me about their project and allowed me to brainstorm with them. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing where their project goes and seeing more of you dedicate your DNP project to dermatology. And there's so many ways you can go with this. A lot of us, myself included, do QI, primarily because I think we're just most familiar with that. And I think when you're doing the program and you get all this information, sometimes it doesn't make sense until you're completely done and you have a chance to absorb and you have time to really absorb it. But now looking back, even then, my first one I wanted to do was a policy one. I wanted my project to be devoted to policy. And so you will see a ton of ideas about that in the book, especially now that I have this experience of the program itself, the project, what's required of your school, what you need to, even though there's requirements, you're still the leader. And so there's a lot of, it might not seem like it as a student, but you actually have a lot of say-so in how the project goes. And so being able to provide that guidance for you. And now that I've been out here and I know so much about the practice and the industry and policies and all the different initiatives taking place, all the different areas of disparities, all the different organizations, I think it's just I'm just super excited to put this one out. I think this will be the last one for the year. I say that now, but I think it will be the last one. One of my mentees who's graduating next month, she has made a request for something, and I was going to turn that into an ebook. And I think when the internship starts, I will have one of the interns put that one together. I think it will be a really good one for them too. Even if they're not an MP, I think it will be a great learning opportunity. And if they are an MP, it will be great to be able to partner with someone who has experience that can also, share what they've learned and things like that. So I think I'm going to hold off on hers until then. Although I also think it would be a great gift for her graduation. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't quite made up my mind, but that one's not dermatology related. So this will be the last dermatology resource that goes into the shop this year. So let's see what else we want to say about that. So I'm sure sometime this week on social media, I'll be all over the place talking about the new book, and you can find it there. Thank you. I just got a message. Someone just purchased, I think it was the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Starter Kit. Yeah. Thank you. That's there if you didn't know. So yeah, if you're new here and you don't know, the Virtual Preceptor Shop is the name of my Etsy shop for now anyway. Eventually I'll move all my books over to the website, and I'll talk about that when that happens and the behind the scenes on that. But when you go there, you'll find, I don't know how many books I have over there now. I think I have 4 or 5 books. So the first one that I wrote was for a nurse career fair that I put together a couple years ago in Maryland, and that one is How to Be a Nurse. And then let's see. So the first one is How to Become a Nurse. It's a workbook for career exploration. I love this book because it promotes engagement. It's better than a PowerPoint. First of all, it's aesthetically pleasing. I designed it so that I can give a presentation, but it's also so that anyone can use it as a presentation for your students, your children, your mentees, your youth ministries, anything, literally. You can just open up the book and go through it and give a presentation. And then it shows you all the different entry points into nursing, has a little bit on the history of nursing. I'm a history buff. Anything I put out is always going to have some history in it. The future of nursing at the point that I was writing in. And there's a bingo game in there. There's a notes page. But you can write in there, and it's a great reference. It talks about all the different degree programs, the length of time, the average cost, the prereqs to get in, what to expect once you're in there, what you can do with each degree. So yeah, that's a really great one. I love that book. The Your Nurse mentorship match ebook. So this ebook, we talk about mentorship all the time, and mentorship, like networking and pitching, is an art, right? Because you can go on. We've all had people contact us and ask questions or ask us for something, and you can tell that they could use a little bit more preparation for those conversations. For one, whoever you're hitting up, they're busy, right? And so you really need to catch their attention. And so it's about knowing what to say, being prepared for those conversations so that it can go somewhere. And so there's a bunch of questions in that book, about 13 questions. And it just helps the person using the book be reflective on, like, why am I taking this journey? What is it I know already about it? Because if someone's just like, oh, yeah, I want to be a nurse, I want to go to nursing school, and that's all you know, this book is going to help you think a little bit more broadly beyond that to give you a better understanding of what it is that you think you're agreeing to and what it is you're going to be expected to do. So there's 13 questions covering about who you are, the industry, nursing, and what kind of support you need, right? So going through all the questions will help you put that into words. And then when you're asked those questions, you'll be ready for them. So whether it's in a digital context, maybe hit someone up through LinkedIn, or in person at some conference, but you can also repurpose them. So you can use them for personal essays, scholarships, when you're looking for preceptors, because in every situation, people are going to want to know the same thing. They might phrase the question differently, but once you've gone through this book and you've answered all those questions, you will be able to answer whatever question someone who's trying to get to know you and build that relationship will want to know. And you'll be that much more confident and prepared, that you can have these conversations, especially if you've never had them. There's scripts in there when you are contacting people digitally, by phone, and in person. And then, while it doesn't have to be solely for students, I do have information in there on the support that students need at the bachelor's level, master's, and doctoral level. This way, as the mentor, you know how to support them. And so it's a great reference for even the mentor. You can use the 13 questions. You can tell this your potential mentee, right? Because it shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm just going to send you over here to be with this mentor because they're experienced, they should mentor you. You need to make sure it's a good fit. And you're only going to know that if you know who you are and where you're trying to go and what you need. You need to verbalize what you need. It's not the mentor's job to pull that out of you, although that can be something you work on. And so, because I think it is 13 questions, each month you could just go through one question at a time, especially if you're really early in your career. It might be good to have the support of someone like that to work through those questions. I basically just think that mentorship should be more than a cup of coffee, and there should be some purpose and intention. And so by the end of it, you can check off some boxes, but also you need to think about what you can contribute to that relationship. And sometimes it's hard to see that if you're focused on, oh, well, I've never had a job in nursing, so what can I bring to this table? And so these questions will help you unveil that value. And if you're not able to do it on your own, it will help your mentor see where your value lies and where they can help you. Maybe it's just in writing, which is an important skill. So that's that one. And then we have From Bedside to Dermatology, a step-by-step guide for nurses, which is exactly as it sounds. It's a step-by-step guide on how, wherever you are in your practice, you can start getting that exposure to dermatology. Because if you don't know, most dermatology jobs, especially dermatology MP jobs, are looking for you to have average, it varies widely, around 2 years of experience when you come in. And so what I recognize is that really we should have started that experience as nurses. And so in the book, I just give ideas on how, wherever you are, specialty or setting, you can start to do that. You can start to get exposure to the industry, understanding of the practice itself, and all the opportunities that exist. And so that's a really, really good one. I love that book. Is it one of the most popular ones? So it's second most popular. The other most popular is the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Starter Kit. And that's exactly as it sounds. You can Google your life away. You can watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Or you can just buy this book, and it will just give you a nice starting point, right? You're busy, you have a lot on your plate, and all you want to do is know, how can you start learning today? How can you start networking? And where can you get some comprehensive education? And so I just put that all in there, and it's a great starting point. So thank you to the person who made a purchase. The link to the Virtual Preceptor Shop is below. So the Mahogany Telederm Nurse Internship, that application closes December 15th. That is a 12-month opportunity to work with me. So my primary motivation is I want to write. I don't know how many times I've said it on this channel, but when I talk to you all in person, and thank you so much for meeting with me. I think at this point, in the last, I think since this summer, I meet with a new person every week and who's in love with dermatology or curious or already practicing, but still looking for some guidance and community, which I'm more than happy to offer. And so you all, it's a practice, right? We're all learning from so many different perspectives. And so some of these books I just named are inspiration from actually, I think all these dermatology resources, the two I mentioned and the one coming out this week on the DMP project ideas, all that comes from you all. So thank you so much. So when I graduated from my DMP program, first of all, I took a working sabbatical. I was still at the bedside, but I didn't want to jump into being an NP because my friends had already been NPs and I already knew what that life was like. And during my BS into DMP program, which by the way is the fastest growing program, I became interested in entrepreneurship and investing, and my life had been on hold for 6 years. And so I just wanted to reconnect with myself. I was 6 years older, my relationship was 6 years older, and I needed to figure out what all that meant. Our world was a lot different. And so I just thought, before I jump into this job that's going to take up a lot of time compared to working 3 days a week, right? Let me just explore these other things. And so it's the best decision I made. It's the whole reason you even see me on your screen right now. And it's my number one advice, like to give yourself an opportunity to breathe, to listen to your own thoughts. Now, I think 12 months is great, but I understand that sense of like urgency, or maybe you're tired where you are. I wasn't burnt out. I didn't leave nursing. I didn't leave bedside because I was burnt out. But certainly if you're burnt out, hearing the idea of staying somewhere for 12 months probably sounds like it's not an option for you. So I get that. I do hear that. But some kind of break, a real break, because at that point I had been in nursing for like 10 years. So going to work was quite easy. So if you could be somewhere where it's kind of easy, that's nice too. There's a lot of opportunities like that in nursing. So during that time, I wasn't supposed to make any big decisions. And one of the questions I asked myself was, what would I do if I could do anything for free? And the answer was write. And so it's like, well, I need something to write about. And so I explored nutrition and integrative medicine first. And then after I finished doing that, I came back to dermatology, which had caught my interest during the pandemic. And sometimes when I look back, when I started my membership for like DNA and some emails I had been sending, I think I see them going back to 2021, which I didn't even realize I had even been doing it that long. I always think it just started after I graduated in 22, but I see like actually my interest has been going for a lot longer than I realized. And so yeah, I said, okay, I'm going to write about dermatology, explored the industry and opportunities for education and training, started seeing some entrepreneurial opportunities in that, and looking for resources to learn, came across Diversity in Dermatology, came on as their author for their blog, became the blog chair, joined the Achieve program, went to my first dermatology conference, and from there it's just been one great adventure. And so, like I said, the original goal was to write. And since then, this summer, I had the pleasure of being invited to be a peer reviewer and then to join the editorial advisory board for the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology's MPPA Perspectives and Dermatology Supplement. And then last year, I joined the Journal of the Dermatology Nurses Association. And I'm just applied. So I originally had joined, so I'm in DMPs of color, and before we had membership, you could be on any committee. Now you have to apply to be on the committee. And there's two ways. You can apply to be a core member, which is a 2-year commitment, or you can be, I think it was interest, where it's like you can't make a full commitment, but you still want to participate. So I applied for that. They said that they'll get back to me in January, I think. with the response. So 3 journals right there that I want to write as much as possible. And then realizing like, how am I going to do all this? And I look at my colleagues who put out a lot of articles. A lot of them are in academia. And in academia, typically not everyone, but most of the time you have access to a teaching assistant or graduate assistant, research assistant, med students even, who can help you gather data. Sometimes they help with writing. And I was like, man, I can create this opportunity for myself. So hence the Mahogany Telederm Nurse Internship. And so, and I used to take on those roles. So that's why I was really familiar with them. And so that's the whole idea, that I get 2 interns. I really want one from America, one from Africa. That's the goal. And if it doesn't happen this year, certainly we'll keep trying till it does. But yeah, I want your help to look through the data and even help with doing that first round of scanning the abstract to see if it meets the inclusion criteria for the paper. And then that will help me tremendously, because once I have all the resources, I can write like nobody's business. But just getting all those, going through all the literature, that's the slowest part. And then through this whole entrepreneurship thing and social media, I have all these ideas on how to repurpose that time spent gathering data on how it can be used in multiple ways. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that. And so through that, we'll create presentations. You'll have the opportunity. So with the writing, you'll help gather the data. And then if you want to help, if you want to write, then, and you don't have any experience, then we'll just start slowly. Each paper, you work on one component. And then as you build your confidence and your skill set, you can write more and more paper, and have you, depending on your credentials and the requirements for that publication, have you listed as an author on there. That's my dream. Definitely find somewhere for you to get your name out there. And then in exchange, I'm going to offer everything I know when it comes to social media, marketing. I'm building a telehealth practice to walk you through what I've already done, and then we'll continue to walk forward together, give you an opportunity to learn that way. And then, so that's the goal, right? From January 6th to December 6th of 2025. And so right now, the application is available. This is the behind the scenes segment. And so to put that together, I use Google Forms. So, Google has a suite of tools. Even if all you're doing is using Gmail, you're missing out. Of course, you can sign into your Gmail account on a million things, YouTube included. But yeah, if you go on like a Google homepage, there's like, I think 9 dots. You click on that and a whole slew of tools to drop down: PowerPoint, Word doc, Excel. There's a finance one. You can make websites, because when I took an entrepreneurship course in NP school, I used that to create a faux website to address the preceptor problem. So yeah. And then websites. And then you can make forms. And so when you click on the link that's in the description box for the internship application, it's a Google form. And when you go there, you can put like a banner, which is just an image that I create in Canva. And then you just fill it out. So all the text, and then you have so many options for the form. People can do like short answer, drop down. You can upload documents. And then there's a setting, so you can make it so people can come back and edit their form or not. And then every time they complete it and submit it, you'll get an email letting you know that it's been completed. And then it turns all those responses into like an Excel sheet if you want. The only concern with Google, I don't have that concern right now with the internship, but we use that same format at the podcast for guests sign up, is storage. And so through all the social media stuff, that's been one of the biggest things that we've learned and come across, is how to store everything. And so at the podcast, now for all the audio and video, I store it on an external drive. We recently lost an interview. Someone interviewed twice, and we lost both of those. So now immediately after we finish filming, I just save everything on a drive. I usually will drop one social media tip each week. And so this week it's going to be back to LinkedIn. It's funny. I think all the biggest lessons we've had are on LinkedIn, probably because that's our newest platform for learning. And so that's been our greatest place for opportunity for growth. And so this week, and we've noticed it for a few weeks now, on LinkedIn, the audio doesn't sync with the lips. And so our producer, shout out to Angie, she figured it out. So typically we have the raw video made in StreamYard, and then we upload it to some other editing software to put like a banner and our intro and outro music and graphics. And for some reason, LinkedIn, any edited form, because we use more than one editing software, and she checked by removing different parts of that regardless of what she did, LinkedIn always cuts off the beginning of the video. And so that's why but it doesn't cut off the audio. So that's why it wasn't matching up. So today, because we dropped a new video today, it does. She just put the raw video out there. And so on LinkedIn, we don't have all our little fancy stuff. But we are able to keep the same thing for YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So that's our tip this week. I've shared tips on LinkedIn the last few weeks, so you'll have to go back and see all those. So that's that. So yeah, so back to the internship. So the application is up using Google Form, and now I'm planning out the agenda for the 12 months. And so I'm trying to figure out what platform I want to put all this information. So for our producer for the podcast, who's also my executive assistant for the branding and the business, we use Monday.com. Monday.com right now, and almost all these platforms, they have a free version. Not all of them, but most of them. Most of the ones we use. Well, no, because we use StreamYard for video, we use Buzzsprout for audio. I don't think those have free features. So I think I've been paying for those since the beginning. But for Monday.com, it's free. So you get 2 users. So Monday.com is just like, you can put tasks. So actually it's a Gantt chart. But it's yeah. And even Google has a Gantt chart. Actually, I used Google's Gantt chart during my DMP project for my secondary advisor, and for the advisor in that setting in particular, like for the stakeholders, but only my advisor really looked at it. And it was just a place to keep track of like all the things that I needed to do, who were the key players for all those, and then the time frame for which those needed to happen. And then I would update those mostly in the beginning, because once we started implementation, no changes were taking place. So yeah, and that was free. And I wasn't familiar with Gantt chart before that, but it worked out. It was a great place for staying organized and communicating with her, where everything was. So Monday.com is basically a Gantt chart. And you can go Google other ones that you might find more helpful. And even when I asked AI for like the best ones, it was number 2, secondary to this. I don't remember what the other one was, but it was number 2. Anyway, so you get 2 free users. Anything after that, you have to pay. And I want to say the next step up was like $9 per user, I want to say. And I think you get up to 5 on that plan. And then there's another tier, you can keep going. But anyway, you can put different tasks. So let's say for the podcast, for instance, we have one-time task. So we put what that one-time task is, and then so it's kind of like it looks like a spreadsheet when you first look at it, just rows, but then you can open it and you can have all kind of information. You can have full paragraphs, you can do links, you can upload documents. When I upload, you can copy paste images, you can see the image there. The main thing I love about that one is that you can see when that was uploaded, so the dates. And then let's say I put something up and say, oh, post this on Wednesday. And she wants to make a comment, maybe she wants to ask a question, she can do it right there. And then I will get notified. I'll get an email saying that there's been an update. And from my email inbox, I can update right there, or I can open up the website. And they also have an app. And the app is free to use too. And so I like the organization as opposed to saying, okay, I've done this task and now I'm going to email you or text you and say I've completed it, because there's a lot of steps involved to do that. Whereas if you have everything in one place, the task, you can mark when it's completed. I can go up there and edit. I can update. I can put dates for when it's due. And then I can put a priority on that task. I can say that it's high, or mostly I only use that if it's a critical task or a high task. I think there's other ways to mark the task, but I only use those 2. Otherwise, it's just get it done by the deadline. And then you can schedule things out like for the whole next year on there. So lots of flexibility. And then you can have more boards. So I have a board for the podcast. And so in that board is its own section. And then there's another board for the internship that I put in, and another board for the telehealth practice. And you can keep adding. And so I like that. It's very organized. It's great for communication. So I was thinking about doing that for the interns. But I'm also trying to be mindful of my expenses, because there's we want to open up a merch store for the podcast, and that costs money. I want to move my ebooks to the website, and that costs money. And so I have to decide if I want to put money into that to make it easier for the interns and me to communicate, or the second idea is Canva. So with Allie, our advisor for our Derm and P's and PAs of Atlanta, I decided to go with Canva. And so you can go to Canva and create anything, literally anything. And I was thinking this week, how did I find out about Canva? For the Society of Dermatology Nurse Practitioners, they do webinars every once in a while. And one webinar was with, her name is Dr. Samantha Castleman. She's out in Arizona. She's a pediatric derm and P. She has her own practice. And actually, if you're in Arizona and you're looking for like space to see patients, maybe you're trying to transition from telehealth, she offers rental space, and she will. You just hit her up and talk about it. But anyway, she came on and talked about her. I think she talked about a topic. But I only remember her talking about her telehealth practice. And she was talking about how she created a form for her patients to fill out. And she's like, oh, I created it on this website, Canva. And man, that's when I learned about Canva. So, and it just sounded so easy then, this whole idea of creating things. So anyway, you can go to Canva. I opened up looked for a 12-month calendar. And I wanted something that had all the days, all the boxes, but also like a side segment so that I can write little things. And then usually when I pick templates, I want to be able to change the color scheme so that it matches the branding, right? All of this is about branding. And so that's what I'm gonna use for Allie. And again, the same thing in one place. She can see a live document because I can go in there and update things in real time. And then you can put comments, which you can do pretty much everywhere, even on all the Google stuff. You can put comments, and you can share unlimited on Google. I tried making a calendar on Google too, but I just thought it would be the easiest place for me, because the thing about bringing on like help is then it's like another task for you. So if I'm already checking email and I have like 4 different email, not even work related, that I'm checking, then it's like, and like when I did bring on Angie, my assistant, it was another thing to check, right? Another person to correspond to. When she first told me about Monday.com, I was really bad about checking it and updating it. And she was so patient. And then sometimes I put things in one place and she moves it to another place so it's more organized. Like she's always making it more organized and clear. And so I learned a lot from her when she does that. But when she first introduced me to Monday.com, first of all, it took me like a week to even figure out what it was, to put it on my calendar to figure out what it was, and then to use it. And even I think last week she was like, yeah, she, in a very nice way, she's like, well, I always check over there for things. And so that's a message for me to put things over there and to keep it over there. It's so easier for her. But I love it. I love Monday.com. But every time, they're all new platforms. And so sometimes I look through them and I watch tutorials and try to figure out how they work. And sometimes I say, look, is this going to make your life easier? If it's going to make your life easier and you like it, or I'll say, look, you've given me 2 options. Which one do you prefer? Which one would you rather have? And then, I just trust her judgment. I want to make her life easier because she's here to help. She's helping me, right? And so that's the same thought I have for the interns, because I know they're going to be busy, right? And so how can I make it as organized as possible and have them looking in as few places as possible? I talked before about communication with a mentee and all the options, right? Text is the worst. Text gets lost and it's unorganized. You can't find dates. It's just my least favorite option. After that, certainly in person's wonderful, right? after in person would be a video call. Video calls are great. So that's why I love WhatsApp, because it's free, it's international, and it has everything from text message to voice to video. Video is the best. And Marco Polo. Marco Polo is really good too, because there's no time limit and you don't have to you don't have to press and hold while you're recording. So you can be doing something else, which is really great. And when you're talking about people who are really busy, these little things can really make a big difference. And I meant to tell Allie to go over to Marco Polo, but I already told her to go to WhatsApp. So we're at WhatsApp. But I think those would be my two favorites in terms of like how to communicate. So for the interns right now, I don't know. I haven't made a decision on if I'm going to use Monday.com or Canva, but I am planning out the 12 months. And so for January, I think our first session is going to be, introduction, certainly share what the 12 months is going to look like, and then I want to know what their goals are for the 12 months. And then I'll start plugging that into the calendar. And so I think for each week, we'll break it down into a different assignment. And I think each month there'll always be something regarding social media, as well as branding. There'll be something like that. And then once I have their goal, if they're trying to build something or create something, we'll put that in there. There will always be something about writing, like the next publication that we're going to put out, as well as like presentations, something in that regard. And then I think that's all I have right now. Actually, while I'm talking to you all, let's see, because I did start dabbling in there a little bit. But yeah, you can go check out Monday.com and tell me what you think. And almost all these platforms have, like, if some of them have conferences, full-blown conferences, like a one-day conference, and they go through all their features. Some of them have ambassadors who make YouTube videos strictly for that. Like there's a couple I follow, they make Canva tutorials. And because they made so many, I could think, they might have reached out to them, I don't know. But they partner with Canva a lot. So they get a lot of like insights, early peaks and things like that. So, okay, so right now we're working on, so for January I have is kind of the onboarding. And so I have listed everything that they will be helping with. So it'll be they're setting up their social media, right? Because we're going to share our experience as a case study. And so they need to be comfortable with being on social media, and then we'll be developing their digital footprint. And so the beginning, we'll have them setting up all their social media accounts, and then we'll go through the 12-month goals. And we'll always check in every month, start building their portfolio, their CV, and whatever platforms they have to keep track of all their accomplishments and skill sets. I'll talk to them about, on here we have the different publications that we'll be writing for. And so we'll go through how each of those are the same, how they're different, the criteria, what I want to put out, kind of my primary research interests, and hear from them. This is a partnership in all the different ways you can imagine. And then all the things I have going on. So we have the Hair For You Advisory Board, the monthly grand rounds, the telepractice, the podcast, and then right now I don't want to say I'm exploring, because I think I've decided. I was working on one of my papers for the Journal of Dermatology and Nurse Association that I've been working on for a long time. But like I think I updated you guys over the summer that for the second time I went through the lit review. So now I have all the articles that I want to go through first round draft on the abstract. And now that I have the intern coming on, I was thinking about being more organized, because you can sign into PubMed under your own account. But I wanted to have a place to store my references, so it'll be easier to create a reference list. And when I was in school, I learned about EndNote. There's so many of them. There were so many. And so when I was peer reviewing articles, I started jotting down some things that I noticed that different authors were using. And I came across Zotero. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But that's the one I'm using right now to keep track of all my references. I love this one. So you download it. There's an extension you can even add to your browser. And then you just can like copy paste the PMID or the website, the URL, and then it will automatically start listing all your references and just creating like a little sidebar. And you can put subfolders and even have a learning module. And so in here for January, I have that one of the onboarding items will be for them to watch the module and learn that way. There's a lot of modules, so I'm just deciding if I want to, actually for onboarding, that sounds like a really good idea to watch modules, or if I just want to talk through everything. I'll probably do a combination of both. So that's where we are right now, is deciding where I'm going to be organized. And I think Monday.com is the best because I think it's going to be the easiest for the intern. And since I'm already using it to go here, I think it would probably be best for me too, to have as few places to go as possible when it comes to communication. And with Monday.com, you can integrate it with Google, Slack, and there's a whole bunch of things actually. And yeah, I think it's just a really good platform, but I would love to hear your feedback. Yeah, it's a Gantt chart, but it's a really nice one. And one that I recommend. So I think that's all the behind the scenes on the internship. So let's see, what else do we have to go through? So yeah, I think that'll wrap it up. So this is November 3rd. We have our DMV Dermatology MPPA group's Friendsgiving on the 21st at 7 p.m. in Old Town. You don't have to, but I'm asking that you wear all white or something close to it so we can have a really cute group picture. It'll be our last in-person meeting for the year, where our speaker will be the great Shanna Miranti. She's a PA with over 20 years of experience in dermatology. She has helped build a practice out there. She's on the, I don't know. Oh, actually, you know what? I can do you one better than that, because she's actually going to be doing a presentation for us on Opsilera in practice in vitiligo with DMV Dermatology and BCI Management and Communications on the 12th. And so she has her undergraduate degree from Loyola University in New Orleans with a major in she majored in biology. Just like me, and a minor in chemistry. She received her master's in physician assistant studies from the University of Florida College of Medicine. She's practiced derm for over 22 years in both Jacksonville and Naples, Florida, and was the founding PA for River Chase Dermatology. She is a diversity in dermatology leader and industry chair, and she is on the editorial advisory board for Dermatology Times and the JD NPPA. That's a great journal, by the way, written for APPs, particularly early APPs in dermatology. And she's passionate about dermatology education, and she lectures nationally. She is busy, and she's a mother of 4. Very, very busy, super sweet, so nice. And the inspiration for these meetings, they do grand rounds in where she is, and she told me about it, and is the reason we're doing it. So you can still RSVP until the 7th. I'm asking that you bring a colleague, and look out for our emails on our upcoming virtual monthly grand round starting in January. Monthly virtual grand round starting in January. That's going to be an opportunity to go through case studies and really encourage you to talk through these studies, learn about resources that people are using to, improve their diagnostic accuracy, and also help with their productivity, right? Because we are trying to get through the day. So it's about knowing what you're looking at, what to do, and also how to do that a little bit more efficiently. And I think the best way to help with the retention and your confidence is to put yourself in a teaching position. So really get your own words out there, and it's a safe space for learning. That's what we want it to be. Diversity in Dermatology, our agenda is live. Registration is open for our conference in March 27th to the 30th in Louisville, Kentucky at the Louisville Marriott downtown. We'll be there for 4 beautiful days, including at the Churchill Downs for one of our receptions. When you register, you have 3 workshops you can pick: dermoscopy, surgery, and aesthetics. Right now we have a special going for aesthetics. And only the first 100 people can participate in that. Of course, we'll have our Achieve program reception, where we recognize our 2024 cohort like we do every year. So that's going to be a wonderful time. Today for the Melanin Initiative podcast, we dropped a second episode with Anthony Young. He's a newly minted NP in New York. He is part of the National Black Nurses Association, and as well as their Men's Health Committee. They have, last week he talked to us about palliative and hospice, and then today he told us all about their upcoming inaugural Men's Health Conference, which will be in Brooklyn in New York. And so you can check out his episode on all the platforms, all the LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Did I say YouTube? And then all your favorite podcast apps. So shout out to him. Thank you to him and everyone who has come on this show or met with me for a brainstorming session to share their story and their expertise, not only with me, but with the audience, and to allow us to partner in this way. So if you stayed this long, then I want you to put Houston in the comments, because that's where my new location is. I'll talk all about it next week. About what it means for me. I think I told you last week. Yeah, so I moved for love. I moved with my same job. And so that made the transition a lot easier. So next week, we'll talk more about, this is the Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur Diary series. We'll talk more about the nurse practitioner part, about what my experience was like transferring my credentials and my licensure to another state. And yeah, I think that's the main thing to talk about. So we'll focus on that next week. And of course, the new ebook will be out, the Dermatology DMP Project Ideas. And so we'll talk all about that and its final presentation. And of course, it'll be available for purchase at that time. And I think that's all I have. So let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to say hi in the comments so I know you're here. Please take care of yourself this week. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.